Oh, this might be this might have something that has the this might be something you find on the final, maybe one of the questions. Hello, I like the shoes. So, college. College. Oh, yeah, yeah. Who pays? All right. So, my friends, I know not everyone will go to college, and that's okay. But those of you who choose to go to college, who's going to pay for it? So, some people might have academic or athletic scholarships that are going to take care of it. That's good. Some people might have had money saved by family for them to pay for it. Some families will choose to pay for it as the student goes along. And then there's the last option of you. How are you going to pay for college if you are like most people in school? Now, here's the hard thing. I had thought when I had gone to college that everything should be provided for me. I would do it. Unfortunately, my senior year, my dad filed both corporate and personal bankruptcy, and all the money that was saved for me, even what I had put into the account, was lost. So when my dad filed bankruptcy, my senior year of high school, there was, so this is not going to sound like a lot to you guys because it's like, well, college is way more than that. So I had in an account that was money from my grandparents, money from my parents, and money from me had gone into. I had the smallest portion I had contributed to it because I had, jobs in high school. And my parents had the biggest part. My grandparents probably put about 25% in there. Unfortunately, when my dad filed bankruptcy, the account that was earmarked only for my college was about $60,000, and it was wiped away immediately. And that sucked. So I had to figure out, how am I going to pay for college? Okay? And this is a way to think about what would be best for you. So if you are somebody who it's put upon yourself so that you're going to pay for college and you are the person to pay, what can you do? Well, you can do student loans. Okay, now here's the scary thing about student loans. Student loans have to be paid back. Okay, yes, there's been all of this social media hype of, oh, they're going to get rid of student loans and we don't have to pay it back. It's not going to happen. Student loans need to be paid back. It's basically the federal government who is giving you a loan through the Department of Education, and student loans can range anywhere from 3.5% to 8.5% usually. It might be a little bit more here or there. As far as interest goes, student loans will always be there. Okay. It's usually 30 years, yeah. So that's a good point. 30-year. All right. So now, when I say student loans will always be there, my friends, if you get yourself into financial trouble in life and you have to file for bankruptcy, meaning it eliminates your debt that you have to pay because of bankruptcy through court situations, student loans do not get wiped away if you file for bankruptcy. Okay? They are still there. It's like, well, I'm $150,000 student loan debt. I'm going to file for bankruptcy, and yeah, I'll have bad credit for like 6 years, but then I'll be fine. Nope, student loan's still there. Okay? So this is what I did and I'm going to give you kind of my path, and I'll give you, what my daughters have done. So me, I did college. I did college in 7 years. Okay, most people get it done in 4. Okay, I did 7 years because I went to school part time, and I had a full time job. And why I did this is I did not want to have debt. I kind of like weighed some of my options. When I got out of high school, I was pretty wrecked as a person because I went from feeling I had everything to having very little once Dad went bankrupt. And it sucked. And what really kind of psychologically messed with me is I knew because I was going part-time, I was going to be done in 7 years. So from 18 until 25, I was doing undergraduate, and there was lots of people I knew done in 4. And psychologically, I'm sitting there going, oh my gosh, they're 22 and they graduated. And I'm basically still a sophomore in college because I took the longer route. Okay? So when I went through and did my college, I took 2 classes each semester and 1 or 2 classes during the summer. Okay? This allowed me to be a half-time student, but get done in 7/8 of the time that it should have taken me. It should have taken me 8, but because I did summer school, I was able to do it in 7. The fortunate thing is, once I got done with college and was applying to become going to get my first teaching job, I did not have debt of college to pay for. That was fortunate for me. That's what I looked at as the big positive. Okay, so the hard thing with the student loans is this. Okay. They collect interest on the money you borrowed from the federal government while you're in school. So let's say you decide, I am going to borrow $100,000 from the federal government. All of a sudden, you get done with your degree and whatever amount of time it took you to get your degree. All of a sudden, you're like, sweet, I have $100,000 to pay back. Basically, a month after you graduate, you get a notice saying, okay, we now heard from your university that you have graduated. You now owe the federal government $117,000. And you're like, wait a minute. How do I owe them $117,000 when I only borrowed $100,000? It's because the interest is on the money. Now, there are ways that people can get through this. You can pay the interest. You can pay the interest as you go. Okay? But I also had done this. Being I was paying for my college, I did at one point take a small loan of about $30,000, in which I already had the money for, and that $30,000. So I could say I did it one way or the other. That $30,000 that I had to put towards college, I bought 40 acres of land. So some people might say, oh, you cheated the federal government by using that $30,000 from the federal government to buy land. Yes, I did. No, I didn't. Yes, I did. No, I didn't. I could sit there and easily say it was my $30,000 that I used, and I used the $30,000 the federal government gave to me as a loan, but I paid this off. I paid this off very quick. Okay, it was paid off basically my 4th year into college. I took that. By my 5th year, I didn't have that debt anymore. I paid it off on top of what I was making and paying for my college as well. All right, so it's like, but wait, I want 4 years. Okay, So there are other things that you can do that will allow you to be on this 4-year path. Okay? So, a couple years ago, I had a payment going to Nebraska, and I had a payment going to Purdue. Purdue.
What was your full-time job?
I actually had quite a few. I was a math science tutor. I sold car washes. I worked in a restaurant as a waiter and then became a bartender. And then I became a full-time bartender when the car wash gig went bye-bye because the place sold and they basically got rid of everyone who'd worked there over a year. Yeah, I didn't have much social time going on. All right, so 2 years ago, or 3 years ago, excuse me, 3 years ago, I had this much that I had to pay for Nebraska, and this what I had to pay for Purdue. So basically, friends, I was cutting a check for $22,000 for one daughter to be at Nebraska. It was $11,000 the first semester, $11,000 the second semester, and then I had $47,000 had to go to Purdue between my two kids. Okay, colleges are different amounts. Now, my daughter that went to Nebraska, because my wife graduated from there, she got the Legacy Scholarship, which basically gave pretty close to in-state tuition for her to go to Nebraska. And then she got a couple of other scholarships because she was a science major. By the time my daughter who went to Nebraska got done, her senior year cost me about $4,000 total. Okay, so she was able to, while she was in school, apply for scholarships, got scholarships, and had been done. So some of you might be trying to apply for scholarships now, and you might not have gotten anything. That doesn't mean you'll never, ever get a scholarship. It means that you do have the opportunity to get scholarships. You still have the opportunity to apply for scholarships when you are currently in college, and I highly encourage you to, because there is a lot of scholarship money that never gets spent. Okay? My senior year, I finally got a scholarship for being I was going to be certified to teach both math and science. So that was nice because that offset what I had to pay, which was good. Now I have to contend with this $47,000 at Purdue. Well, my daughter's sophomore and junior year and her senior year, she became an RA. Okay? Now, I know a lot of people are like, oh, you have to be in a fraternity or sorority in order to be anything in life. I was never in a fraternity or sorority. I didn't have time. I couldn't be in a sorority because I was a guy. But I couldn't get into a fraternity because I didn't have time. I had no time. Both my daughters chose when they were in school not to go in. And in fact, only about 8% of students that go to a university with the Greek system are a part of the Greek system. Okay? It is not something that has to be done. Now, people are like, oh, I have to do this because my mom. I have to do this because my dad. My daughter, or my wife, was in a sorority. She was in AZD at Nebraska. In fact, I just had a whole bunch of her AZD sisters all at my house this past weekend, and I couldn't be there because they were, it was like ladies' time, and it's like, go do something. Okay, and I did. But it's not mandatory. A lot of people feel the pressures. I have to be in this because that's going to make me who I am. I can assure you, my friends, if you go through this entire school, I would say about a third of the teachers were in a fraternity or sorority. The other 2/3 were not. Okay? It is not something that has to take place. The Greek system is not a defining factor of your life. People are like, oh, it makes it easier to get a job later in life. Oh, okay. Where you're following a myth that is just a myth of all myths. Okay? I have plenty of friends who are Sigma News. Did they go get a better job than me because they were Sigma News? No. Okay? It's one of those things where I think people fall under the trap that they feel they have to because, oh, well, what are you going to do socially if there's not there? Well, if only 8% of the people at college are in a Greek system, that means 92% are not. There's a whole heck of a lot more people that aren't than are. So is it something that people want to do? Yes. Is it something you have to do? No. It will cost a lot more money. If my daughter had wanted to go into a sorority at University of Nebraska, it would have cost an extra $15,000 per year for her to be in that. It's like, oh yeah, but she gets to live in the sorority. Not during your freshman year, sometimes not during your sophomore year. Heck, if you go to Arizona State, you guys want to hear a weird thing about Tempe, Arizona? The Greek system in Tempe, Arizona. Fraternities, beautiful frat houses. Sororities in the dorms. You want to know why? In Tempe, Arizona, if you have 3 or more women that live under the same roof that are not related, it is considered a brothel. Whorehouse. Yeah. Yeah, it's weird. It's like one of those weird rules from like the 1800s in Tempe, Arizona, so they had to hold that true. So it's weird. You got Arizona State, they're like, oh, look at all these frat houses, that's cool. And then you're like walking and you're like, oh, you go get to the dorms. Oh, the 3rd floor of Manzanita is this sorority. Or the 5th floor of this dorm is this sorority. Or the 2nd floor of this sorority, or floor of this. And it's like literally the dorms are that, yeah. Uh-huh. Yeah, I know. Tempe, Arizona is a little bit, and I grew up there, so it's a resident assistant. Okay, so let me explain. I'll explain that in a sec. So my daughter, who went to Purdue for her sophomore, junior, and senior year, her senior year will be coming up. She is an RA. So her $47,000 dropped down to $19,000 because she is an RA, which saved me a lot of money. Okay? Yes, $19,000 is still an incredible amount of money, but I was very happy that she chose to do that, and this is what an RA does. An RA usually shows up 1 week before everyone else. Okay? They usually leave 1 week after everyone. And the RA gets, so any of you guys know some of the housing problems that are taking place at universities? Purdue had a huge housing problem. My daughter's first year at Purdue, she was in a 2-bedroom suite that was designed for 4 people, and they had 6 in there. My daughter's closet space was about a foot wide that she got. So she had to really manage space in order to get it. Because she became an RA, she gets her own room. So my daughter's dorm room is about the size of this classroom. It's in a corner of the building on like the 5th floor. She has a window looks that way and window looks that way. It's in the Midwest. I have no idea what directions they look because there's no mountains. I always get lost. Okay? She gets her own room. Okay? For her senior year, she not only gets her own room, she gets her own bathroom. Okay? So if you are staying in a dorm, you usually have a shared bathroom. Okay? You walk out of your room, you go across the hallway, there's a bathroom that has like 4 or 5 showers, 4 or 5 places to go to the bathroom, 4 or 5 sinks. You share it with everybody on the floor. You live with people who are pigs, like you're dealing with community bathrooms. Okay? So my daughter's excited that she gets her own bathroom next year as well as part of her room. So she'll have a room about this big and also have her own bathroom, which is kind of a perk. And this is what an RA does. RA, you are in charge. There's usually 2 per floor in a dormitory. Okay? So they are responsible for their floor. So let's say you have the kid that, I miss mommy. and they're crying themselves to sleep every night. My daughter has to go and say, like, dude, suck it up, Buttercup. You're in college. You shouldn't be crying for mommy. Not maybe in those terms, maybe a little nicer terms. Okay. The RA is kind of making sure that if there's any problems that do take place on your floor, it gets handled. You're not really relying on a 20, 21, 22-year-old person to deal with everything. Like if there's a medical emergency, 911. If there's criminal activity, 911. Like they're not going to go and deal with anything like that. But they basically set up, become a familiar face for people who are away from home for the first time. Just like, hey, I'm having a hard time dealing with this. And my mom usually tucks me in. Well, my daughter, I ain't going to tuck you in. So maybe you FaceTime your mom before you go to bed and tell mom you love her, and then maybe that phase of life will end and you'll be fine. So if you see something illegal, you have to report it. There's a lot of times, depending upon what university you're at, a lot of times you are not allowed to have alcohol or marijuana in a classroom or in a dorm room. If it's not seen and you're getting away with it, you get away with it till you get caught, and then you blame society for all your woes. But those are just some things. The RA, my daughter at Purdue, she is right now applying to be at Purdue for a 5th year to get her master's. And she's applied for the RA of RAs. She is applying for the boss, which basically means her master's, I think it's an MS, is going to be free. Okay? So, and the boss of the RAs, that is the next level. If you are an RA, you can't handle the situation, you call the boss comes in and deems what needs to be done. I can assure you the experience that my both daughters have had in undergrad were pretty good. My oldest daughter, she is the biggest introvert, very quiet. You put her on a piano and she's going to bang out the keys on the piano like no other, and it's never quiet. But as far as like, oh, you're in my face, I don't feel like dealing with you. So she had a couple of roommates, let's see, her sophomore and junior year, she had like roommates that were like, they shared an apartment. It was a resident apartment, meaning the university owned these apartments. But in the apartment, you had up to 4 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, a kitchen, and a common area. And I think it was her sophomore year. She had these girls she lived with that I don't know how they were able to be successful in school, because they were out of control. I mean, they were like doing some hardcore drugs. I'm not talking about, smoking pot. I mean, these kids are like, snorting coke on the back of the toilet. They're involved with methamphetamines. I'm just telling you. I mean, it's usually like a place to hide it, to do it. So my daughter was able to, like, after a semester, move out and then get in with some other nicer people. And then her senior year, she had her own apartment by herself, and she had a kind of a fun job on campus. This is my oldest daughter. She was in charge of the outdoor adventure stuff. So if somebody wanted to rent a kayak, she would get the kayak, and it would show up on the South Platte River, or I guess it's the Platte River in Nebraska, and they could kayak. Or if they wanted to, during the winter, if they wanted to rent snowshoes, she was dealing with all that stuff. They had a huge rock climbing wall. She was in charge of making sure people were, got the harnesses and stuff like that. And that was all taken care of. So that was her job. My younger daughter, her job mainly at school is just being an RA. So, and then my younger daughter, she's going to stay this summer at Purdue. And she's taking some classes and working in a lab, and she's also going to be the RA for the summer session, which, was kind of cool. But socially, the experiences both kids got, I feel, has been really good. My oldest daughter is now in graduate school, getting her PhD in forensic geology from KU. Something that you might want to consider if you ever consider going beyond your bachelor's degree, find which university you would want to get either your master's or your PhD from. I will tell you one thing about KU. KU, if you are a full-time graduate student, you are fully funded. My daughter, Leah, who's going to be 23 years old, by age 25 will have a PhD in forensic geology. She gets paid $24,000 a year, and everything is covered for her at KU. She gets all of her school fees are paid for, all of her books. For her $24,000 a year, her 2-bedroom, 1-bathroom apartment, it's pretty cute. It's right next to campus. Costs her $600 a month. And she loves being able to live by herself. She goes, I have 2 rooms. One room is created as her study room, and one is her bedroom, and then she has her front room that is, TV or whatever, kitchen and bathroom. So if you choose you want to start applying to graduate school, figure out what graduate school is going to offer you the most. Leah had looked at KU, Iowa State, and University of Alaska as her 3 graduate schools. And when she came to us, she said, okay, it's going to cost you guys this much for me to go here. It's going to cost you this much for you guys to send me here. KU, it's not going to cost you anything. Go there. But go there. But go there. She really likes Lawrence, Kansas. It's a great place for her. She enjoys what she does. And again, she's an introvert, so she's the kid who will walk down with one of the other geology students, and they will go fishing on the Kansas River, and they love fly fishing, and I'm happy for her. But those are some things. So how do you pay if you choose to take student loans? If you choose to go with student loans, you basically have 30 years to pay back. Okay? If you take all 30 years, I would say if you have no money to go to college, you should look at about this much money you're going to have to come up with in student loans. So you're talking about $250,000 for your 4-year degree in student loans. If you took all 30 years to pay off that student loan payback is going to be about $600,000 that you owe. Okay? Financially, does that make sense for you? Well, it depends. Are you going to have a job that's going to be able to fund basically your house payment and then your other house payment, meaning your student loan is your first house payment? Yeah.
Okay, so going back to the other topic, how do you know the relationship? I'm into advice.
You're going to be an undergrad. You got to pay for it, baby. Unless you got a scholarship for academics or athletics or anything like that. No, undergrad usually will have to pay. Let's put it this way. My daughter at Purdue got a 36 on the ACT. Perfect score. She could have went to CU and CSU for free. Chose to go to Purdue. Purdue offered no out-of-state academic. Yeah. But we wanted to make sure that our daughters had the opportunity to go where they wanted to go. So my wife and I were able to fund it. And here's the funny thing. How are you and your wife, you're both teachers, able to fund it? Because we learned to live within our means. We've saved money through our lives. My wife makes more than I do now as a full professor at CU Denver. But Huh? You didn't get to see Denver? Oh. Sorry. Don't worry. Where you go to school doesn't define you. So many people are so worried about it. The one thing that will crack me up, if you are worried about this, and paying for your college, here is an option that isn't broadcast loud enough to students. Community college. Okay? Now, so here in our state, we have Arapahoe Community College, we have Denver Community College, we have Pickens, so you have and then you have Aurora. I think it's CAC is Aurora's Community College of Aurora or something like that. CCA. No, it's CCA is what it is. CCA. Okay, so here's something that people don't know. You can complete your entire freshman and sophomore years at the community college. Community college will cost you about 1/5 that CU would charge you. Now here's the thing. Before you shut down the community colleges, you're going to walk into a classroom about this size. You're going to have about this many people in a classroom. The English 101 you take at the community college is the exact same same class you would take at CU Denver. You're going to pay, $200 a credit hour, so $600 for a class. At the community college, you're going to pay $3,000 for the same thing at CU. Okay? Yeah. Let me think on that for you. So this is something that some people don't know about the community college system. Okay? This right here. If you were to go for 2 years to the community college, that means that you could go to any college for your junior and senior year, and you paid a fraction of what it cost to get your diploma. Your diploma, once you get your diploma, it doesn't say, if you graduate from CU and you did 2 years at the community college, it doesn't say CU, but they went to the community college first. It says you satisfy the requirements to graduate from CU or any other university. Okay? The community college is far less expensive. And I think a lot of times, if you truly don't think you're 100% ready to take that leap to a major university, the thing that shocked me was my very first class I took at Arizona State was ECE 105. It was programming in C language for engineers. I walk into Murdoch Hall, and I am one of 800 students in Murdoch Hall. I'm like, oh my gosh. So, yeah. Good.
Why is community college so much cheaper than other colleges? What is it
I truly feel that you might actually get a better learning environment because you're in a classroom this big versus. So when I took ECE 105 and then I actually went to the community college because I dropped ECE 105 my first semester because I was working full time. I didn't have that kind of commitment. I took the exact same class at the community college and there was 12 people in it. I went through the same exact thing. And the nice thing about it, you're in a classroom this big, you can do exactly what you did. I could stop class and answer a question. Murdoch Hall, 800 people. See someone's hand goes up, that hand's staying up the whole period. No one's going to answer that question. They'll say, go to your recitation to learn. The recitation is basically a study hall that you could go to, that you have a graduate student who is working under that professor to get their PhD, who's going to try and help you. At Arizona State, there was times, like when I took Calc 1, I went to go get, because we didn't have calculus in my high school, plus I was dumb, so I couldn't take calculus in high school. But when I took Calculus 1 at Arizona State, I couldn't understand the professor because it was just like this. Okay, next page. And you're like, I went to the RA, or not the RA, the recitation. The person didn't speak English. I'm trying to get math help from somebody who was here for graduate school who didn't speak English to learn calculus. I'm like, all right, so we have f of x is equal to 7x to the fifth, blah, 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 blah. And I need to find the first derivative. How do I do this? Wah, 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 wah. What? They didn't speak English. But I could have done the same calculus class at the community college, could have gone to the tutoring center, which is the same as recitation, but it's always open. It's not a slated amount of time. It's like, oh, the tutoring, huh? No, I'm just trying to be the reality. So,
You're scaring me. No.
ready? Calc. All right, ready? So, I was kind of my very first semester at Arizona State. I was told by my mother, you have to be a full-time student in order to stay on my insurance. Meanwhile, there's no money to pay for me to go to college. I don't want loans. I was working full-time. That was my first semester. I didn't have time. I had no time to do school and work full-time. Okay? So, second semester, I had to take Chem 2, Calc 2, and that's all I took. Okay? Because the work job I was at, I went to my boss and I said, look, I am working here full-time. Yes, we love you, Stirrup. I have to be a full-time student to stay on my mom's medical insurance. Stirrup, you can get medical insurance through this job. Really? So then that allowed me to do this. Okay? Well, she had the fear of God instilled in me. I had to have medical insurance. So I was able to get medical insurance through my job and then go to a part-time status. The thing that stunk about that is I was on academic probation because I did not satisfy the 2.0 GPA that Arizona State required. Okay? So these are things that I wish I would have known. In fact, my second, third, fourth, and fifth year, I was working full time. I started out at Mesa Community College in Mesa, Arizona. And then, so that was this year, and then third, fourth, and fifth, I went to South Mountain Community College. So now I am done because I was only part-time there. Came out of the community college with a 4.0. Okay. I went back to Arizona State to finish my engineering degree. And I was part-time still. So this is year 6. Halfway through year 6, Dr. Mildrew, who I was working in his physics lab, basically as setting up labs as a math science tutor. And then Dr. Mildrew came to me and said, I need you to go teach my calculus-based physics class because I have a meeting in Murdoch Hall with 800 people. I'm up there teaching calculus-based physics, winging it and killing it. And I saw Dr. Mildrew come in. I could see him sitting at the top of the hall. I'm like, why is Dr. Mildrew in here? I'm this little guy down on the stage with a projector where I'm writing on the projector that's being broadcast. And I'm going over, I'm teaching. Because of Dr. Mildrew, he kept having me teach his physics class, and he'd come sit, and he said, go become a teacher. So the College of Education did not like people transferring from college to college or from college of engineering to college of education. So I finished my degree at Grand Canyon University. So Grand Canyon University was done in 1.5 years. I was able to transfer everything from Arizona State, everything from Mesa Community College, everything from Mesa Community College and Southbound Community College to come out without debt to allow me to teach in front of you guys. So if you guys have more questions about some of that, I'm happy to talk to you. Have a great day.